Okay, I'll now call the meeting to order and welcome everyone, and thank you for attending our November Planning Advisory Committee meeting. So without further ado, we'll get right into the agenda for this evening, and I would ask if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest, the general nature thereof, of any of the items that are presented on the agenda. Councillor McHugh.
Yes, Chair, I filed paperwork with regard to I have a conflict for staff report 25-092 PD, and I'll refrain from any discussion at that time.
Okay, thank you very much. We do have one member, virtually a Councillor Card here, if people can see his face on the big screen, I guess, so he will be taking part in the proceedings this evening also. No other disclosures noted. I would now ask for a mover and a second to approve the agenda, and I might add that we did have some additional items and correspondence that was added over and above and I think Laura had sent out an email giving you a heads up on it. So I would ask for a motion plus the additional items that are presented. Councillor Quinte, Councillor McHugh. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now ask the approve the minutes of the previous meeting of October the 16th, and I would ask for a mover and a seconder. Any errors, omissions, or questions regarding those minutes? Mr. Edison? Mr. Brown? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Okay, the public meetings are conducted as prescribed by Section 3413 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended for 1 official plan amendment application and 1 zoning bylaw amendment application affecting lands in the Sydney Ward, and 2 zoning bylaw amendment applications affecting land in the Murray Ward, and 1 temporary use bylaw application and 1 official plan amendment application and 1 zoning bylaw amendment application affecting lands in the Trenton Ward. The meeting will be conducted in the following manner for each application. First, I will identify the application being considered, and then I will ask planning staff to outline each application being considered. Then ask if there are any members of the public who have registered in advance to attend and participate in the meeting and have any questions or comments regarding each application. If there are no comments or questions, I will ask the committee if they have any questions or comments. Once all committee questions have been addressed, the committee will consider and vote on each application. If you wish to provide comments, please state your name and address for the record prior to addressing the committee. This committee has been delegated the responsibility to conduct public meetings as prescribed under the Planning Act. A full report of the meeting's proceedings will be submitted to City Council on Wednesday, December the 17th, 2025. Council will make the decision on each stated application. Anyone other than the applicant who wishes to receive further notice of Council's decision on each application must submit a written request for notice of Council's decision to the Director of Planning and Development Services. I will now ask the Director of Planning and Development Services please advise the committee on how each notice of this meeting was given. Brian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to the committee. Notice of the applications being considered this evening for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendments were given in keeping with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, by first class mail on October 27th, 2025. Newspaper advertisement on October 29th, 2025, and posting of signs on the subject properties on October 31st, 2025. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move into the first staff report, 7.1, 25-081 PD, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment application. The owners Michael Carrier and Carla Maria Sombreri Carrier. And the location is 350 Glen Miller Road. The file number is D09/S22/25 and D09/S23/25. Katie, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, these applications propose to amend the official plan and zoning bylaw as they relate to the property located at 350 Glen Miller Road. The subject property is currently developed with an existing commercial building, several shipping containers that are used for the commercial self-storage facility, and a contractor's yard. The contractor's yard is primarily used for the outdoor storage of heavy equipment relating to asphalt paving. Historically, the property has been used for various commercial and industrial uses, such as a body shop, automobile repair garage, a towing company, and a salvage yard. The purpose of the official plan amendment is to permit a specific mix of commercial, industrial, and highway commercial uses. The application seeks a site-specific policy area, which would allow the lands to be used as a contractor's yard with an associated office, a commercial golf simulator business, while also recognizing the existing legal nonconforming commercial self-storage facility. The concurrent zoning bylaw amendment application proposes to rezone the subject lands to the Development Exception 3 zone in order to permit the site-specific uses of a contractor's yard, a commercial golf simulator business. Further, the development of the subject property would also recognize the existing commercial self-storage facility and its existing setbacks. The owner's planning consultant has submitted a concept plan which demonstrates the layout of the site. In addition to the concept plan, a planning justification report dated August 2025 was also provided in support of these applications. The owner has demonstrated that the existing commercial self-storage facility benefits from legal non-conforming status. However, both applications do include this use in order to formally recognize its operations. Formally recognizing the self-storage facility's legal non-conforming status in both amendments will ultimately help to minimize discrepancies about its operations in the future. Following this public meeting held tonight, planning staff will subsequently consider any public comments heard tonight, the input from various agencies and city departments, as well as any applicable planning policies. Staff will provide a report to the Planning Advisory Committee at a later date with a recommendation on these applications.
Thank you very much, Katie. And I might add that, as Katie has said, this is going to be a public meeting this evening, and there'll be no vote taken on this as of tonight. It will come back to the Planning Advisory Committee for the next meeting. I'm not sure it'll be next month, or how long it will take for staff to review it to present it to the committee for an appointment. Mr. Jardine, maybe you want to talk about timeframes, sir, please.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, that will really depend on the input received this evening and the amount of work that has to be done in terms of developing the recommendation.
Okay. Before I start, does the applicant wish to speak, or do you wish to just wait and see if there's any questions you would like to? I didn't know whether you had a presentation you might like to present before you start.
We've got a presentation prepared. However you guys want to do it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's okay. Good evening, Planning Advisory Committee. My name's Dale Egan. I'm a registered professional planner. I'm the agent on this application. I've been working with Michael Carriere, the property owner at 350 Glen Miller Road, for about the last 6 months or so in preparing these applications for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment. So we have a brief presentation here tonight that we're going to go over over these applications. So in terms of the site context, this slide shows a picture of the property in its current form. The owner's taken quite a bit of time to renovate the property and the exterior facade. So they have done some work on the exterior facade in terms of stucco, and there's some new bollards out front. So there have been some visual improvements to the site done lately. So as I mentioned, the owners are Michael Carriere and Carla Maria Somriva de Carriere. The municipal address is 350 Glen Miller Road. The property has a frontage of approximately 36.5 meters and has a site area of approximately 2,889 square meters. The current use of the property is for a contractor's yard, office, and commercial self-storage facility. As staff had noted, the commercial self-storage facility has been considered a legal non-conforming use. The official plan designation for the subject property is Trenton Planning District 13, and the current zoning of the property is Development Exception 1 D-1 zone. So this slide shows the existing property as it's developed today. It's an aerial image with the approximate property boundaries outlined in yellow. So there's an existing commercial building on the property that's been used for various uses over the years. It's our understanding that the building has been used for an automobile repair and body shop as well as a salvage yard outside. So as I had mentioned, the existing commercial self-storage facility has been considered a legal non-conforming use by the city. So this slide shows the site plan of the existing development. So it outlines where parking areas will be, outdoor storage, where the existing commercial self-storage facility is, along with the existing commercial building on the site, And it shows the area that's used as an office space or intended to be used as an office space, and the area of the building that's going to be converted to a commercial golf simulator. In terms of Planning Act applications, to facilitate the proposed development and the proposed uses, an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment are required. The official plan amendment requires the creation of a site-specific policy area, as the current designation only allows for existing highway commercial uses and allows for properties to be redeveloped for new highway commercial uses, but they must be highway commercial uses. The zoning bylaw amendment requires the creation of a site-specific special development zone to recognize the existing site configuration and to permit the proposed site-specific uses. The zoning bylaw amendment intends to restrict the uses to a contractor's yard, commercial self-storage facility, commercial golf simulators, and office space. So prior to submitting the applications, a number of steps were undertaken. So the first item was pre-consulting with planning staff to determine the requirements of complete applications for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment. So what has been submitted for complete applications is the application forms for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, application fees, the planning justification report, a draft zoning bylaw and schedule, and the site plan. In advance of the submissions, the owner also undertook a neighborhood information meeting to advise neighbors of the proposed applications, but also to hear preliminary concerns that any neighbors would have before finalizing applications and making submissions to the city. Subject lands are also located within an area of source water protection. So in advance of submitting these applications, a restricted land use notice was obtained by the owner under the source water protection plan. In terms of the planning context for the proposed development, the PPS encourages that settlement areas are the focus of growth and development, and the subject lands are located within the Trenton urban area as per the official plan. The PPS encourages land use patterns within settlement areas that efficiently use lands and resources and that optimize existing and planned infrastructure. There's currently existing municipal water to the property, and the property will be serviced by private sanitary services. The PPS encourages intensification of employment uses and compatible compact mixed-use development to support the achievement of complete communities. So the proposed use of the commercial golf simulator will occupy the majority of the building and hopefully be more compatible than the previous uses of the commercial and industrial uses that have occurred in that building. So it's our opinion that the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment are consistent with the PPS. In terms of the city's official plan, the property is designated as Urban Planning District and then further designated as Trenton Planning District 13 on Schedule B1 of the official plan. The official plan identifies urban settlement areas as the primary focus for development. So the official plan encourages and supports land use intensification through redevelopment of underutilized or vacant commercial properties. So the subject lands have been utilized for a number of commercial and industrial uses over the years, and the proposed applications will allow for the redevelopment of this property. So the official plan amendment is required for the commercial golf simulators and the contractor's yard, as they are not classified under the official plan as highway commercial uses. So that's the reason for the need for the official plan amendment. It's our opinion that the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment maintain the general intent and purpose of the city's official plan. In terms of the city's zoning bylaw, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment seeks to permit only the specific uses of a commercial golf simulator, contractor's yard, office, and commercial self-storage facilities. So as previously noted, the commercial self-storage facilities benefit from a legal non-conforming status and are only being included in these applications to avoid confusion and to make sure that they are recognized in the zoning. So in summary, the official plan amendment is to create a site-specific policy area to allow for the site-specific use of commercial golf simulators, a contractor's yard, commercial self-storage, and an office. The zoning bylaw amendment is to permit the proposed uses and site-specific setbacks that recognize the existing configurations. And it is our opinion that the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications will meet the general intent and purpose of the city's official plan. And we're available for any questions if there are any from the committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation, and I'm quite sure there'll probably maybe some extra questions. Okay. I will now open it up for public input, and I would ask when you come forward, please state your name and address for the record, and then we'll entertain any questions or comments or concerns that you might have. So please come forward at your will, please, regarding this application. Going once, twice. Nobody got any concerns about this one or extra questions? Okay. We're getting off easy tonight. Usually there's lots of questions and concerns, even though there's a good presentation. I guess there's nothing wrong with that. Staff, have any further comments before we?
No, I think if there's any questions, obviously from the committee, then yeah.
Okay. All right, committee, do you have any questions or concerns, given both our planning department and the applicant's presentation? Mayor Harrison?
No, I've stopped in there, and I'm really good at that golf simulator. I've never lost a ball, so, but I'm not a golfer, but thank you. It's quite an adventure, and, yeah, no, I think they've done a great job in there as compared to what was there, so.
Okay. No other committee members, comments or questions? Councilor Quinte?
Just want to say thanks for purchasing the property and making the renovations. It's looking really great. Thanks.
All right, then, I guess, Brian, there's no comments to record. Maybe you have a different time frame for this one? We've got off pretty easy on this one with no...
Yeah, I think based on that, we'll attempt to bring this back at the next committee meeting.
So you're looking at December's meeting then, or
December meeting.
first of the year? I know we quite often don't have one in January, but just so in case there's some other interest arises later. So.
Yeah, we'll schedule it for December, and we'll notify the committee if there's any change. And yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Then, in that case, we'll move on to our next staff report. Is 7.2 staff. Okay. Okay. Do we just receive? Do we need? Do you think we need a? We don't need just to receive the report. Okay. We'll just. All right. My assistant here is just making sure I dot my i's and cross my t's here. Yeah. I need a lot of dotting and crossing. Okay, we'll move to 7.2, Staff Report 25082 PD, a zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Alex Wanamaker. Location is 1168 Jameson Road. File number is D09/M25/25. Katie, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this rezoning application is a condition of consent application B29/25M, which was conditionally approved by the Committee of Adjustment on July the 10th, 2025. Under the consent application, the Committee of Adjustment approved one new 1.1 hectare lot. The purpose of the zoning amendment is to rezone the severed parcel from the rural zone to the rural residential exception 85 zone in order to recognize the reduced front yard setbacks for the existing single detached dwelling and the frame shed. The southern portion of the retained lands would also be rezoned to the rural exception 80 zone, which would include special provisions prohibiting the keeping of livestock within the existing outbuildings. The northern portion of the retained lands beyond the hydro corridor would remain in the agricultural zone. The environmentally sensitive area overlay on the property would also remain unchanged as a result of this application. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to have any questions or opposition to this application? Seeing none, the applicant wish to speak? No? Okay, committee, I would ask that you consider the application and the recommendation as presented was to approve.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Councillor Quinte moves, Councillor McHugh seconds. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to staff report 7.3, staff report 25-083 PD zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Dennis and Sherry Goulet. Location is 101 Downs Road. The file number is D09/M26/25. Katie again, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the purpose of this application is to rezone the subject lands from the Rural Exception 4 zone to the Rural Exception 61 zone and the Environmental Protection Zone. The Rural Exception 4 zone that currently applies to the property includes special provisions that require a minimum westerly interior side yard setback of 80 meters in order to provide separation between the existing wrecking yard at 83 Downs Road and a residential use. This special zone was applied to the subject lands in 2007. The owner has now applied to rezone the retained lands so they did do a severance, as you can see there. It was approved, and this is not a condition of consent, so the lot has been created. But the owner has applied to rezone the retained lands to the Rural Exception 61 zone in order to reduce the required westerly side yard setback from the 80 meters to 30 meters. However, it's important to take into account that there's an existing municipal road allowance located between the wrecking yard at 83 Downs Road and the property at 101 Downs Road. The road allowance is approximately 20 meters in width and therefore acts as an additional buffer between the two properties. Ultimately, even with the proposed reduction to the side yard setback, there will still be a minimum of 50 meters maintained between the wrecking yard and a future dwelling at 101 Downs Road. Prior to submitting the application, the owner did contact the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks in order to discuss the required distance between the wrecking yard and a future well on the subject lands. Staff do also recognize that there are several existing residential dwellings situated along Downs Road that are in closer proximity to the wrecking yard than what is being proposed by this application. Overall, the application meets the intent of the provincial planning statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to address any questions regarding this application or have opposition to it? Okay, seeing none, staff, or I should say committee, thank you, staff, for the report. I would entertain a motion to support the recommendation. Mr. Edison moves. Mayor Harrison, second. Any further questions or comments from the committee?
Yep.
Mr. Councillor Quinte.
The road allowance, do we still need a road allowance there? Like, is that being used for anything by the city in any way, shape, or form? It does, but any response as to, does the city use this road allowance at this point in time, or when was the last time we used it? Any future use?
Mr. Coletti, you're from Public Works. If you want to make a comment, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I don't know that we're in the business of ridding the municipality of road allowances. I'm not all that familiar with this particular road allowance, but as to whether the question as to whether we need the road allowance or not kind of remains subject to the fact that we don't sell subject properties.
Director Jardine.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, yeah, currently the road allowance is not utilised by the city. As you're aware, as Mr. Clay said, there's many unopened road allowances throughout the municipality, as members of council and committee know. So, is there a required use for it? Probably not. Road allowances are obviously there for a reason. There's normally some future potential for it to be utilised as a public access to some other form of development. When these road allowances were all surveyed and put in place, it left that potential open. The potential for larger scale development in this area is virtually nil based on at least today's planning policies, and I assume planning policies for the foreseeable future. So the answer is no, it's not used. Does it need to be used? Probably not. But again, as Mr. Clett said, there is a separate process for determining the release or sale of road allowances. That goes through a separate process, not part of the determination of this committee. That would go through Clerk's Department and Council. And again, there would have to be a reason for the city to release this, and there would have to be a willing purchaser as well, which is the other part of the equation. And I don't believe there's any request at this point in time for the road allowance to be purchased. So okay. I think that may have walked around your answer, your question enough to.
No, I understand about unused road allowances and unopened road allowances. It's just there no particular information on this particular road allowance. I must admit, I have not been to this road allowance, so I'm not familiar with it, but, because some are road allowances, people use them for, you know, going on nature walks or whatever all the time, and I have no idea if that's the case here or not, but, and that wouldn't interfere with this, application anyhow. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, Mayor Harrison?
Yeah, just further to Director Jardine, we have miles and miles in this city of unopened road allowances. And, you know, there's no way that this council or this committee is going to start opening road allowances. If a road allowance is between my property and yours, you and I will have to agree to make any changes to that road allowance. Okay, so I farm and I keep cattle, and I want that one side of that road allowance fenced. You don't want yours fenced. Do you think I'm going to allow you to open up? No, I'm not. So the issue is, we've got miles and miles of unopened road allowances. Leave them the way they are. If somebody comes to us, wants to pay the money and go through all the process, we would consider it. But otherwise, no. And people can use it, yes, they can, but I don't think this is one that they're going to walk on. It goes down through the back of a dairy farm and down through another property right to Miron Road. Is where it would go. So, yeah, let's not start touching those things.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? All right, it's been regularly moved and seconded. All in favor of approval? Carried, thank you. All right, we'll now move to item 7.4, Staff Report 25-092 PD, a temporary use bylaw application. The owner is Silverthorn Holdings Limited. The agent is Quinte Region Natural History Museum. The location is 99 Dufferin Avenue. This file number is D09/T29/25. Ashley, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is to provide a 3-year extension to the existing temporary use bylaw to permit the continued use of the property for the purposes of a public museum and gallery space under the Service Industrial Exception 9 zone. On November 15th, 2021, the Planning Advisory Committee approved a temporary use bylaw. The temporary use was permitted for a period of 3 years as per the Planning Act and expired on November 15th, 2024. Thus, the request for an additional extension of 3 years. The comments from the Fire Department, Building Department, and Lower Trent Conservation state no concerns. No residents to date have voiced concerns about the application. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who has any questions or opposition to this application? Please come forward, state your name and address, please, for the record. Okay. Seeing none, I would ask committee to consider the recommendation to approve and entertain any questions or comments. Councilor O'Neill, you move it?
I've got a question.
Okay, go ahead.
If the permit expired in November 2024, why is it being brought to us in November 2025?
Okay, staff, do you have an answer for that? Ms. West?
So we reached out to the museum, I'm going to say September-ish of last year, to inform them that their temporary use bylaw was coming due. There was a bit of back and forth, and then there was some silence, and then I believe they also came forward to council asking for relief from the planning fees for this. So sort of all of that wrapped in, then we finally got them to be able to be on this meeting.
Okay, thanks. So does that mean they're going to get a 3 years from this date or 3 years from the date before?
So we left that maybe open to the committee if you would like for the 3 years to start now. we can do that, or we can say the 3 years starts from the date of last year when it expires. So really, they would only be getting 2 years for temporary use, and then they'd have to come back again to renew that temporary use bylaw.
Okay. Any further questions? Did you want to move that, Councillor O'Neill, or move the recommendation
I'd like to remove the recommendation, and I'd like to have it for 3 years from this date.
from this date?
I think it's a great spot that's there, and I'd really like to have it extended.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, so, okay, Director Jardine or Ms. West, doesn't matter. You're comfortable with the amendment, I guess you'd say, or additional?
Yes, that's the committee's discretion. We just thought there was somebody online there.
Okay. All right. Everybody is comfortable now with the application? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor McHugh will come back. I believe it was the mayor. Yep. Okay, now we'll move on to 7.5, Staff Report 25-093 PD, Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application. The owner is the City of Quinte West. Location is North Murray Industrial Park West. File number is D09/T30/25 and D09/T31/25. Brian, I guess you're on for this one, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The report being presented to the committee this evening covers two applications. They are city-driven applications, one for an official plan amendment application and one for a zoning bylaw amendment. The subject property is depicted on the key map, is property owned by the city, south of Hamilton Roads, a segment of land approximately 32 acres, south of Hamilton Road and west of North Murray Street. Currently designated industrial within the city's official plan and zoned industrial as well. The adjacent land uses, we have an existing residential neighbourhood to the west. The D&D Creek runs along the eastern boundary, and then further to the east, obviously, the existing North Murray Industrial Park, which contains a full range of Class 1, Class 2 and Class 3 industrial uses. As I mentioned, the current designation is industrial, and it's been industrially designated certainly since amalgamation, and I suspect prior to that within the Trenton official plan as well. So this is a significant change. And the change is really driven by the city undertook an industrial land strategy exercise last year, and that was a full review of all of the industrial land within the municipality, both privately owned and municipally owned, to look at a couple of things. Firstly, does the city meet its requirements, its targets for a supply of industrial land? So very similar to housing land, all municipalities are required to effectively keep enough land designated for industrial and employment uses for the future, for 25 years. And beyond. So the exercise looked, do we have enough inventory within the city, public and private, to meet those needs, and also to look more specifically at some of the sites, particularly the city-owned sites, to see what potential they actually had, because obviously you have gross acreage and then you have net acreage when it comes to certain constraints, etc. So that exercise was undertaken, and among many recommendations, the study was also presented to council, publicly presented, and was approved by council for the strategy. In relation to this property was looked at specifically through that strategy and was determined to have limited industrial potential. Now, that, despite the fact that it had been designated for industrial for quite some time, obviously it's vacant land right now, nothing's been developed. The real rationale for that determination of limited potential is partly the configuration of the site. It's obviously, as you can see on the key map, it's a triangular parcel. As you would imagine, developing sites for industrial and employment uses, particularly industrial, tend to be much larger buildings, bigger footprints, very hard to configure on a site of this shape. When you go further south in the site, it has very, very limited development potential as the site narrows down. But the predominant thing was the existing residential neighbourhood directly adjacent and abutting to the west and to the north as well creates the requirement for significant setbacks for future industrial uses. So when you take the configuration of the site, the setbacks from the D&D Creek for environmental purposes on the east side and setbacks from the residential, you end up with a very, very small piece of land that would have potential for industrial use. So between the exercise determining that the city has enough industrial land for its future needs, together with the constraints on this site, the recommendations of that strategy were that this site would be better utilised for non-employment uses, particularly residential or mixed use. So that's why that's brought us to the point we are today, and hence the applications. As I say, this is a city-owned property, so these applications are being made by the city. When it comes to kind of overriding planning policies, the provincial policy statement, or provincial planning statement rather, does have some controls and constraints over where and when the city can change employment lands, because again the province is making sure that municipalities have that land supply over time. But there is an ability for a municipality to change an employment designation to another use where it's been determined through study that the land is not required for future industrial uses, and also making sure that development of the lands would not have a negative impact on other employment areas. And as I had mentioned, the study did that exercise and concluded that those conditions could be met. So therefore, what's been presented this evening is, firstly, an official plan amendment application to remove the designation, to change the designation from industrial into residential. Within our official plan, we work on planning districts. It's currently within Planning District 1A, which is an industrial planning district. Through this application, that would be removed, and the planning district that covers the residential neighbourhood directly to the west would be extended to encompass this site, so it would be in the same land use designation as the residential area directly to the west, which is Planning District 9A, which allows for low and medium residential land uses. Low and medium density residential land uses include single-family homes, townhomes, semi-detached, and very low-rise apartment buildings. Under the zoning application, currently the property is zoned for industrial use. That zoning is already in place, so development could theoretically happen right now under that current zoning, and there is an open space zone on part of the site as well. The proposal is to change that zoning to a development zone and an environmental protection zone. Now, the development zone is effectively recognises the existing uses on the site. And the reason that we're recommending or proposing a change to the development zone is that there is no specific proposal for this site at this point in time. The exercise really today is to change the designation and to put it into this holding development zone to recognise that it has development potential, but no longer industrial development potential. The environmental protection zone, which runs along, as you would expect, along the creek line, recognised the existing floodplain from that creek line, and that came from the recommendations and requirements of the Conservation Authority in their comments on this application. The other thing I would say is when it comes to the actual bylaw and the revision of the planning district, there will be additional conditions put in place. And again, this comes from the comments from the Conservation Authority, which, while the environmental protection zone currently recognises the flood line as it's recognised right now, the Conservation Authority recommended that we put in conditions that say that prior to any future development, that flood line has to be redelineated, has to be reviewed on site, so that any amendments can be recaptured in an environmental protection zone. So there could be a future change in that environmental protection zoning, to extend the environmental protection zone, very unlikely that it would be reduced in size. And the other point, if I haven't already made it, that's very important, is that any future development on this site would require a further zoning amendment application over and above what's been recommended this evening, and that would be circulated for public input exactly in the same process as been undertaken for this application. So through our review, again, this is very high level, these applications, but we have reviewed servicing capacity, both water and city sewer. There is servicing capacity for the site to be developed, although no existing servicing within the site, so services would have to be extended to the site for future development. Accesses as well have some limitations. Obviously, there's a potential for a direct access from Hamilton Road, but then there's some question over the ability to do a secondary access. Secondary access to the site would be required beyond a certain scale of development, so that would really depend on what the future use of the site was. But there is an option with a creek crossing to come out to North Murray Street on the east side of the property. Through the public consultation, I did get one phone call, the gentleman might be in the audience this evening, from one resident just inquiring about the future use of the site. Other than that, no other public comments received on these applications. I think just in a summary statement, the residential change would definitely maximise the use of the site from a development perspective, and it would assist the city to meet many of its housing goals, which are currently challenging this municipality and all other municipalities. The applications being presented this evening do conform to the provincial policy statement, as I said, and would, if approved, conform with the official plan and the zoning bylaw amendment, and therefore are recommended for approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who wishes to come forward and entertain any questions in regard to support or opposition, please? Please come state your name and address for the record, please. Welcome.
My name is Jeff McLeod, and I'm the owner and resident at 77 Ireland Drive, which the back of my property faces right up to about the bottom of the black proposed entrance area, I believe it is there, from what I can see. We've just received this notice in the mail a couple weeks ago on that, so I haven't had a lot of chance to really go through the whole thing or talk to neighbors and that. I've talked to some. Everybody, at this point in time at least, seems to be against it. And I think that there will be a lot of us that can bring that up. Indeed, we did have a nice conversation. So it's just at this point in time, from what I understand, is that it's just in the fledgling stages at this point, I know. So, but the idea is that it's city-owned land and it's trying to be zoned differently so it can be sold, correct?
To you, Mr. Chairman, so there's potential for that. That decision has not been made by council, but obviously council do not build houses, so it's probably a fair estimate to make, yeah.
Yeah, and again, I guess we're not at the stage of whoever would want to buy it and what they would do or propose to put onto the land. I know that's a different something down the road if that comes to fruition at all. But we were talking about, I heard you mention talking about the idea of various things. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because like I've got all sorts of ideas about what might go in there, but I mean, it's useless to talk about that at this point in time. But however, in your conversation, you mentioned something about, because it's all just small bungalows and that in the area, including myself, or split levels. And but you mentioned low-rise apartments. What's that constitute?
Mr. Chair, so low-rise apartments is defined in the official plan as a four-storey apartment building.
So this, if that land is potentially sold and someone, developer, bought it, they could put up to a four-story apartment building in there?
There could be potential for that, yeah.
Okay. All right, so when you say potential, I mean, you mean they would have to make a submission, et cetera, this kind of a thing, of course, to go forward. So I guess what I'm trying to say also is the people in my area, in our neighborhood, like nobody's, because that backs right onto our backyards, like we're talking about against our backyard fence. And there's all sorts of, everybody's scared. And I'm just trying to not put the horse or the cart before the horse. Like, you know, we're talking about, well, high rises I just mentioned. But if there's any other commercial plazas in there, does that mean that there's going to be potential for group homes, drug dispensaries, et cetera, these kinds of things too?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, commercial, no. If this got zoned to residential use, it would be for residential uses only. Now, group homes are a form of residential use, so that is potential, but not strip malls or commercial plazas, nothing like that. If it was designated and zoned for residential use.
So aside from a drug dispensary, so there'd be no store use for it then?
Again, back to kind of repeat the point that you just said, the future uses, so the official plan amendment gives a very broad range of uses, mostly residential, right? And you can have within a residential area, you can have a corner store, something like that, right? But that would still have to come back to this committee and back to the community for specific zoning. So again, these types of applications, when, as you said, they're very high level, they are very difficult for residents that live next door, because you obviously want to know, and quite rightly so, you want to know what's going to be there. The reality is that until a future zoning application came forward with a firm proposal, it's impossible to say, other than the official plan allows for that umbrella of low and medium density residential uses. Kind of hidden in there, there's the ability to have things like a neighbourhood corner store, but not larger scale commercial. That would be a different zone.
Mm-hmm. And for example, like I'm right down at the bottom of the tip of that 77 Ireland Drive. And right now and behind us is a quasi swamp, which we kind of like it, you know, like in the summertime, it's nice, you know, bullfrogs, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, but I guess until you see some sort of a plan or something, you wouldn't know. But if they're going to come up and wipe all that out up there, so you don't know what the lines would be for residential use, right? At this point in time, other than what you suggest from your experience.
Yeah, I mean, again, through Mr. Chair, you can tell me, again, you need to be an engineer or a planner to look at the map and say the development potential at that very bottom end. So if you look at on the mapping, the black area is the area that's been redesignated. The kind of hash mark,
right at the tip of it.
checkered, yeah, and you're right at the tip, right? The kind of checkered area is the environmental protection. So as you see, as you go further in the site, and that's what I was talking about earlier on, was that you know, as the site narrows down, the ability to develop it becomes less and less, right? Because if you imagine to develop even a residential, even very low density residential, you have to have access into, you have to have a road, you have to have frontages, etc. So literally the bottom, probably 10% or so of the site probably won't see any future development, both because it will be environmentally protected, as you said, there's the creek, there's the floodplain, and there's some wetland features in there, all that will get further delineated prior to a formal application. And so I would imagine that that entire bottom segment will not be in a development zone. So yeah, but again, we're getting too far ahead. But the community would see that level of detail when future applications come forward.
Yeah. So for example, like I said, we're at the bottom there, but off of South Murray there, where it's crosshatched coming up. So then what you're saying is that it's just your opinion or suggestion at this point in time that the entry zone coming up into that area would not be off of South Murray, but probably off of Hamilton by the looks of it.
That's correct. As you say, already, even through this application, even though this is very early stages, that bottom end of the property is being zoned to an environmental protection zone, so you would not see any development in that bottom end.
And any development meaning like entries.
Exactly. Yep.
Roads.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah,
Correct.
et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Okay. It's like I said, I know it's in the very early stages at this point in time, I guess that just about answers it, other than to say that in that area anyways, I've been to about a dozen people already, and, you know, nobody's for it, you know, because it's right behind us, and it goes all the way up that black line there, all the way up. And there's like a farmer or something in there generally through the, I don't know, they rent it out or something or other. But anyways, any further applications in that, I guess it's ruled up here, or that is designated here? And everybody's kept in contact?
Through you, Mr. Chair, exactly the same process. So you got your letter in the mail. We did newspaper ad this time as well, just because of the disruptance with the postal service. But all neighbours would be notified, similar to tonight. Yep.
Yeah, because they were having a powwow out there a couple of weeks ago. But, okay, I think that answers about all of my questions then for right now. Tonight, other than to say that we've got a bunch of concerned citizens there over that, and I'm sure many, including myself, will be planning to follow up on it, because we like our area like that. That's why we bought there 4 years ago. One of the reasons, you know, so. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. And as Brian says, any future presentations or changes has to go through this process. And even after this committee deals with it, it goes to council. So it just doesn't get to slam dunk here in a sense. You'd have a couple of chances to debate it or bring your concerns forward, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to come forward? Please come forward and state your name and address first, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Don Timlin. I live at 63 Ireland Drive, so one of our neighbors. And we haven't talked yet, so anyway, I'll give a little bit of a history lesson. I don't know if anyone else on the committee or has looked into this, but we went through this exact same thing. We bought our house as a foundation back in 1987. And stood out in the back with their real estate person looking at it. He said, this is just buffer zone between the industrial park and where your house is. There'll never be anything here. And I'd say within 2 or 3 years, there's a knock on the door at home, someone with a petition saying they want to build in your backyard. And so if you can look back on history of Trenton at the time, not Quinte West, but Trenton, in that exact spot, we got a map. I think there was like 64 houses to be built in that area behind us. And there was going to be a buffer between us and those houses of 10 feet. I don't know why, but that's what they decided. And then they put houses in. We came to various meetings down here, and people were upset and wondering what had changed, and then everything stopped. Never heard why, never heard from the city what happened. It just stopped. And we never heard a thing for years and years. And then, I don't know how many years ago now, we heard soccer fields were gonna be built out behind us. And we're thinking, oh, parkland, you know, that's fine. You know, it's you need it in the city, you need that kind of thing. But again, there was talk that could be developed into parkland, and all of a sudden, nothing again. And now we get this letter in the mail, and we're back to like 1990, going, what changed? Like, so anyway, there's a lot of concern, I'm sure, as the meetings go on and the next things, but it might be worthwhile looking back in the history books of Trenton, find out why it got stopped the last time. Whether it was just the public input, whether it was floodplain, whether, we don't know. Never heard. But anyway, I just thought maybe a little history would help and see what happens. But
Spencer Hutchison sits at the back. Were you the planner for Trenton at that time, do you recall? I hate to put you on the spot, but
when the industrial park came in, I think I was on staff.
There's his comment.
Anyone else like to come forward and express any considerations or concerns or?
Comment, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're all under a lot of pressure. We're under the pressure of the province. We have to build houses. People need homes, and that's what we're up against. And, you know, do we take marginal land or do we take good farmland? You know, so that's, I know what you're saying today, yes. But there's no any more in the world of politics and the world of planning, there's no such thing as no. Mr. Jardine mentioned that one of the issues with this piece of land is servicing. And so we would have to, whoever buys it, before they buy it, would look at what is the potential in terms of water and wastewater. What kind of servicing can we get there, and what's it going to cost me to bring it to that property? And then again, of course, we're up against the plant and what do we have, what services do we have available, which is today. But, you know, in the next 5 years, what are they going to develop? What may happen to the need for wastewater systems? Will there be changes? Yes, there will be changes. Right now, we have a subdivision on Wooler Road just north of Telephone Road. It's called Pine Marsh. And when that particular subdivision was built, they didn't have the access to the wastewater system. So they put in what was called a small bore technology, which is where the septic system's in the front of the house and the liquid from the system runs out into the sewage system, but all the solids remain in the tank, and then you pump the tank at 2 or 3 years' time. So those, we live in a flexible society where advancements in technology and so on really influence the possibility of what land use is and what happens to it. And I want to go back to the unopened road allowance. I live on Harrison Road, which is a dead-end road into my property. The unopened road allowance goes right through on the west side of my property, right through to the road north of me, which is Westlake Road, and that road goes from Stockdale Road to Downs Road and Broach Road. So yes, I want to maintain that road. I don't want that road open, but on the west side of me, and I own the east part, or I use that road allowance, but I don't have control over it. If something comes along, then of course I have to be willing to buy that other half if it's for sale. So there's all kinds of complications that we're trying to deal with to accommodate the future and the planning in terms of reality. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, sir.
Dan McDonald, 31 Island Drive. I don't know these gentlemen, but well done. I agree with everything they said, but have we taken account of all the nature that lives back there that we just keep taking away from the city land? We have a chance to protect it. I think we should. Have we looked at how much nature that runs through that place?
So, Mr. Chair, in terms of wildlife?
Yes.
No. I mean, there's some realities here, right? I think the mayor maybe touched on it. This entire area, as you would expect, is an urban area, right? The general premise, the expectation should be that land within an urban area gets utilised. The environmental protections are definitely there, predominantly on natural features, watercourses, wetlands, etc. Species at risk is definitely taken into consideration if there's habitat that's recognised by the province. But outside of that, there's there's pressures to best utilise land within an urban area. Greenfield expansion is very expensive. Continuing to grow the city outwards is very expensive, and it has other implications on things like agriculture. So definitely the focus is always going to be, and I think all communities across the province and across the country and other countries as well are facing pressures that we've never faced before, and the combination of need, desire, and need, not necessarily desire, but need for housing growth is significant. Today is ironically National Housing Day, and we had a session earlier on today with a number of agencies. The scale of the issue is enormous. And municipalities are forced, we're at the sharp end of the government structure, to look at opportunities, where those opportunities arise. We all recognise that nobody likes change. If you've had open fields at your back door for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, understandably, change is hard to recognise, but you do have to recognise the overall community pressures, and those pressures particularly on the urban area. This land is already, and I think it's very important to go back to even how I started my initial comments. This land is currently designated and zoned for development, industrial development. So this is not earmarked as open space, nature land, anything of that nature. Certainly natural features would be protected through any form of development. This is simply changing it from one form of development to another. So definitely it's competing pressures, but outside of species at risk, no, we would not consider wildlife to that degree.
So if you can change your mind from industrial to housing, why can't you change your mind to let it have nature?
Because of the pressures that I said.
Somewhere along the way, we've got to stop with pressures because we're outgrowing ourselves. Most people came here because we're a small community. Now it's getting silly. Just to drive to Belleville now, you're stuck in traffic almost as bad as Toronto. So
yeah,
when do we stop growing? It's not taking my taxes down any, so it's not helping me any.
Yeah, we simply, as a municipality, all municipalities have a mandate to grow. That's developed into legislation at the provincial level, and so we don't have the opportunity to say stop the bus. We've had enough. That's not an opportunity that we have.
Okay, thanks, gentlemen. Great notes.
Okay, anyone else wish to come forward and express any concerns or comments, please?
Since you opened the door. Your forefathers,
State your name and address for the record.
Okay,
we know who you are, but maybe the rest of the folks here
Spencer
don't.
Hutchison, and I'm going to go as Connect Quinte Housing. Earlier councillors purchased this land as an industrial park. Their vision is that the city needed, the town needed industrial land to entice industry. And that's what you have been doing and your colleagues through the years, selling off factories and other warehousing. You've come to a point in time where you're juggling the needs of the city, and right now the bigger issue is housing. So much like your forebears who said, we're going to grab land, hold it, and generate jobs for the benefit, you're taking a fork in the road and saying, we have enough industrial land, but housing is a whole other issue. We're going to benefit the citizens, future citizens, by providing housing. So, I support you in that endeavor. As I say, Quinte Housing is interested in affordable housing. We're partnering on a project in Quinte West already. There's a potential maybe for another project. I state right now, all I know is what I've seen on the newspapers, have no knowledge, no discussion about this land. But it's, a possibility for ourselves, or we have other colleagues that you know of who could see this. It'll be a residential development of some road in and a cul-de-sac, and, you could sketch 10 different plans. I think for the neighborhood, you're losing the potential of warehousing or industrial behind you, which could be happen today without any zoning approval, and getting housing. And it's going to be low density, which is going to be singles, semis, townhouses, and maybe some walk-up apartments. So it's going to be compatible, and it's going to fit in with the existing neighborhood. once you earmark the environmental land. So will be in next year, whenever whoever gets involved in developing it, you'll see an actual plan. But from my experience as a planner, you're going to see like by like, it's going to fit in. It is change, but the city is using land that they acquired to the benefit of the citizens, originally for industrial, now for residential, and as we all know, that's where the issue is today. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to come forward with any questions or concerns? Okay, seeing none, committee, I would entertain your direction. For
Need a
the
motion?
Yes, recommendation is to approve both of these items here. That are
I'll make a
before-
motion to go ahead.
Okay,
make the
moved by
change.
Councillor Quince. Do we have a seconder? Mr. Edison? Any further questions? Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Director Jardine. The houses on Graham Road, on the east side of Graham Road, behind those houses is a water tower. And if we're going to have access from Hamilton Road, is that water tower going to get in the way of a road?
Through Mr. Chair, again, hard to say without any design, but as I understand it, that water tower is staying where it is. I don't think there's any plan for removal or relocation of that water tower. So any access road would have to negotiate that water tower.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Quince?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to just, one of the gentlemen was talking about the history of Trenton, and he mentioned about the 1990s. Well, I can tell you why nobody was building then. The interest rates for mortgages were through the roof. Like, people talk about 6 and 8% interest rates today. I remember my wife and I being ecstatic that somehow we found a 13.5% interest rate for our mortgage in 1992. So I can tell you that people weren't building too many houses then. But anyhow, from listening to city staff and the mayor and some of the citizens here today, this piece of property has been owned by the city of Trenton and then became property of the city of Quinte West. The province of Ontario and the council of Quinte West, we were asked to review our city official plan. We've been asked to find places for development, and because this particular piece of property is very close to wastewater systems and water systems for residential use, and we aren't getting any interest whatsoever on this particular property for any commercial or industrial use whatsoever. It has some other challenges. So we've received zero interest over years and years and years of somebody acquiring this property for development. So the city staff came up with a plan to rezone this particular parcel to see if perhaps some other use may come of it. So the land is still going to be owned by the city, and as Mr. Jardine alluded to, like, the city does not build houses. So for anything to happen on this land, someone is going to have to purchase this property first and then come to the city with a plan for development. I mean, they can still come with a plan for development, but somewhere along the way, somebody's going to have to purchase this property. And that would all be public information as well. Everybody's here in the room. If you've gotten this mail, you've probably read other material about how Canada needs to grow with housing. The federal government has come out to say, build, build, build. Province of Ontario has been talking about it for years. And Quinte West has got all sorts of developments growing all over the place. Frankfurt area, west of Trenton, even in Sydney, there's growth areas going on. So this would just be another residential growth area for the future, and that's where we're coming to today. So I'm supportive of this because we need housing. Thanks.
Zach, did you, I didn't see your hand. Are you in favor? Councilor Card?
Yes, I am in favor. Sorry, I think your mic might have been out.
Okay, now I see it. Thank you very much. Okay, it's carried. Thank you very much. Okay, your comments regarding the applications and staff reports have been recorded and will be forwarded to the members of council together with the minutes of this meeting. Council will make a decision to approve or refuse each stated application at the regularly scheduled council meeting of Wednesday, December the 17th, 2025. We now move into public input, and I would remind anyone in attendance here, the next decision item regarding the Huffman Road, this is their time to entertain any questions or comments at this time for that. And if you so wish, or if you have any other concerns that you'd like to bring forward at this time, please come forward and state your name and address. No other concerns or comments? Okay, thank you. Move down, we have no presentations, no delegations, and we have a decision item, one decision item. And the decision item is 11.1, Staff Report 25-094 PD, Draft Plan of Subdivision and Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application. The owner is 792076 Ontario Incorporated. The agent is WSC Consulting Incorporated. The address is Huffman Road. File numbers D12/06/25 and D09/S14/25. Madison, would you like to address this, please? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The applicant has submitted concurrent applications for a draft plan of subdivision and a zoning bylaw amendment for the lands on the south side of Huffman Road. The purpose of application D12/S06/25 is to obtain draft plan approval for a subdivision containing 100 lots for single detached dwellings, 10 blocks for 40 townhouse units, 1 block for a stormwater management facility, and 1 new internal road with connections to Huffman Road and Caleb Crescent. The purpose of concurrent zoning bylaw amendment application D09/S14/25 is to rezone the subject property from the rural zone to the residential type 2 zone and the residential type 3 exception 9 zone. Applying the residential type 3 exception 9 zone would permit a reduction in the exterior side yard from 5 meters to 4 meters for all dwellings and the minimum rear yard for townhouse dwellings from 6 meters to 5 meters. The statutory public meeting for these applications occurred on August 21st, 2025. As part of their updated submission, the owner and their engineer provided responses to the questions and concerns raised by departments, agencies, members of the public, and committee members. These concerns include, but are not limited to, traffic, drainage, infrastructure capacity, loss of vegetation, density, and potential strain on local schools and community services. In order to address relevant concerns, the applicant made a few minor changes to the proposal. Namely, the proposed extension of Caleb Crescent increased in width from 18 meters to 20 meters, and the proposed entrance to the subdivision from Huffman Road has been shifted further to the west to better align with future access points proposed in the vicinity. The proposed changes to the entrance location and right-of-way widths had a minor impact on individual lot configurations and resulted in a reduction in the total number of lots for single detached dwellings from 101 lots to 100 lots. Ultimately, the proposed subdivision layout remains largely unchanged. A local resident expressed concerns over the removal of vegetation and the potential impact that construction related to the proposed subdivision may have on the roots of trees located on their property. In response, city staff engaged in discussions with the owner and their engineer and agreed that this matter could be addressed through a condition added to the draft approval. Accordingly, planning staff recommend the following language be incorporated into the draft conditions. Prior to construction, subject to Quinte West design requirements for grading and drainage, retainable trees on 135 Huffman Road would be identified/flagged, and the roots of those trees would be protected from excavation to the best efforts of the owners during construction for the lots backing onto 135 Huffman Road for the first 250 meters from Huffman Road to the south at the discretion of the Director of Public Works and Environmental Services. Overall, the applications are consistent with the provincial planning statement, the city's official plan, and maintain the intent of the city's zoning bylaw. These applications are recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Madison. Are there any other further questions? I would ask once more, if you would like to come forward, if there's something that you haven't heard that you're not comfortable with, please, I would entertain any questions now. Okay. Hearing none, committee, you've heard the presentation and the recommendation is to approve. I would entertain a motion or questions. Councillor McHugh, move. Edison, second. Any questions from the committee regarding this? Mr. Brown.
I think the developer is online there. I'm curious just to.
Mr. Denoden is
perfect. Curious to hear if there's any dates in mind or timelines when it comes to when the first few units, like how many units are going to be built first, and kind of when that's going to happen.
Yes, I think he has a representative here. If you'd like to come forward, sir, please.
Through the system. Adam Wilson, WSE Consulting. We're hoping for sometime next year for our first phase of construction, and we're thinking somewhere between 40 to 50 units. And then we're expecting 2 subsequent phases, but of course the market will dictate when that happens.
Okay. Any further questions from the committee? Councillor Quinte.
That's a question about the trees. So, I mean, I understand trees need their roots. I get all that. So who's going to determine if there is a tree that has some health issues? Who's going to determine whether it was the roots or some other event that damaged the tree? How does that factor in?
So through our detailed design, we would initiate our own reviews, and we may decide to bring in like a certified arborist to help us with that exercise.
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm gathering these trees have considerable age, I guess, at this particular point in time. And like there could be a windstorm, there could be ice storm, there could be invasive species similar to certain trees having invasive species attacking them now, killing them all off. And I just want to make sure that if the tree has some sort of incident that is not related to the roots, that somebody doesn't come back on the city or the developer to say, hey, our tree died and it's all your fault. That's all.
There were some pictures in the subsequent
I saw those.
supplementals, but
Yeah,
that's
I
the
saw
type
those.
of trees. So they're fairly mature trees, that's for sure.
Yeah, certainly, and what you were speaking to is something we would be documenting and seeking expertise where we felt it was required.
All right. I just want to make sure that that's been thought out and everybody's on board. All right. So I'm going to vote in yes.
Eric, I know you haven't got your hand up. Any comments from yourself regarding this before I call the vote?
No, thanks, Chair Ellier. I don't have anything to add to that. We'll continue to work in a spirit of cooperation with all those around us that will be impacted by this much-needed residential development.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, committee, it's been regularly moved and seconded. Any further questions or comments? One last time. Seeing none, all in favor of approval? Carried, thank you. We now move to printed information, and we have 12.1, the monthly planning and development reports, and 12.2, committee site plan committee meetings, and there were several there. I would entertain a motion to receive both, and any questions you might have. Mr. Edison, Councillor McHugh, any questions or comments regarding those minutes? Seeing Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Director Jardine. For the monthly building report for October, the address 17512 to 17518 Highway 2. That's the property beside the Tim Hortons near Walmart, where the cost for the listed was 1.7 million. I thought that was really low. I did reach out and ask why, and if you could just let the other members know why it's so low for that big a plaza.
Yes, thank you through Mr. Chair. The The permits have been issued essentially in 2 stages for that. The chief building official did respond to Councillor O'Neill. So in 2 stages. So effectively that represents the shell of the building. What happens then is future permits come back for the completion of the unit. So obviously the initial developer needs to know who the end resulting tenants are. This is a commercial plaza, so could be a restaurant, could be a store, could be something else. And so they do the final work under a separate permit. So this is the value is relatively low because it only relates to the shell of the building.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All in favor of the received? Thank you, carried. And then we have 12.3 correspondence, and it was a letter from Marlene and Jerry Van Holst, dated November the 18th in regard to staff report 25-094, which I think has been dealt with, but I'll let you maybe respond to that, Mr. Jardine.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The only point I wanted to make, this relates to the correspondence that was received on the Huffman Road application after the agenda package went out. But I just want to also confirm that the residents, the adjacent residents, were contacted by staff in relation to this additional condition, and they were comfortable with that as the approach. So I just wanted to make sure that they were in favour of that approach as well.
Okay, thank you very much. So can I have a motion to receive it, that we acknowledge their letter and place it on file? Yep. Councillor Quinte, Mr. Brown? Further comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we now move to non-permitted information. We have none. And we're down to requests for information. I'll start this in, Mr. No? Councillor McHugh? Mr. Brown? No concerns? Councillor Neal? Mayor Harrison?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've said enough.
Okay, well, we'll cut it off there. I don't have any concerns too much tonight either. Staff, is there anything further that you need to bring forward tonight that's maybe pertinent information for the future? Okay, Councillor O'Neill.
I did have one thing. At the Housing Summit today, there's a representative from Ellis Don there, and they had like stack plans that you could purchase to speed up your development times and your building. That was really interesting, that I thought might be interesting to someone like Mr. Hutchison and his group.
You have any comments to that, Brian?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that's a good point. It was a good presentation, and this was for Elston, a kind of fairly high-level construction company. They often do large-scale developments, hospitals and things like that were referenced. But it's essentially like you refer to it as a Lego set. So you buy all of the pre-designed packages, all of the engineering, all of the design work as one package, and then the construction can happen a lot quicker. I think the other thing to say as well is that while that related to kind of fairly high density development in those projects, there's a similar approach being taken, and something we're starting to look at as well is this idea of pre-designed plans. Lots of municipalities are starting to look at the idea of, and even the province is looking at it as well, of determining pre-designed plans for houses that have already been reviewed under the building code, that meet the building code, that effectively will speed up the process and potentially the cost for a builder developer, particularly smaller developers, to get to the construction stage much quicker. So that's you're going to see that not just for those large scale developments, but for single family homes and things as well. Accessory dwelling units, that was another one that was mentioned. Pre-designed plans is going to be something we're going to be seeing quite soon. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just only one question I had today, and it would go to our planning and permitting. What is council going to do to lower the cost of building permits? That's the only question I had. So.
Stay tuned, I guess, for future considerations. Okay, if there's no other requests for information, no notices of motion I see brought forward. Our next regular meeting is scheduled for December the 18th. Same time, same place, 6 p.m. And I would like to, at this time, thank the committee and staff and for your attention and all your hard work of input into all our proceedings this evening. So without further ado, could I have a motion to adjourn, Councillor, Mr. Edison and Councillor McHugh? All in favor? Carried. Doesn't look like there's too much opposition. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.